What's up, y'all? It's your boy Niner Faithful,
What's up, everybody? It's Adam, 49ers Insiders over here.
and we want to thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Niner Faithful Radio. Today, we're going to touch on the state of the franchise. Go ahead and go over Joe Staley's contract extension, Navarro Bowman retirement. That was some big news that came out this week, and of course the wrap up slash beginning of mandatory minicamp, and also, towards the end of the show, I was able to speak for like 4 minutes with off air, off record, but not off record, with team president Al Guido at the state of the franchise. He was really cool, approachable dude, and was very gracious with his time. And he gave me some exclusive insider information, like nobody outside the organization knows this. So we're going to go ahead and give that a little tease, as they say in the industry.
All right.
But so to jump right into it this week, Joe Staley, lifetime Niner. I mean, as I tweeted out, for those who follow me on Twitter know that I tweeted out, Joe Staley's the definition of N4L. He's the definition of Niner for life. I mean, the man, I was there, and it's actually funny. If you go and you watch the state of the franchise, you hear me. You can't tell it's me, but you hear somebody say, "We love you, Joe." That's your boy.
Oh, yeah.
You heard me a couple times.
Dude, honestly speaking, like, obviously with Joe Staley, it was like, honestly, what a big relief for him to take the extension, right? As we all know, that at least it doesn't guarantee you the starting offensive line is going to be together for the next 3 years, because as we kind of know, Mike Person wasn't even like in the lead position to start last year. Josh Gardner gets injured. Lincoln Tomlinson, I know he's definitely going to start this year. And
next year is where I believe
confident about Mike Person, even though if you put a gun in my head, I'll probably say he will, but I'm still not ruling out Josh Garnett. Telling you, contract year, he was in the league last year. I think he has a shot. But it was just a big sense of relief with Joe. But at the end of the day, I think you and I have both been on record that we felt unless the majority of the team was healthy and we still end up finishing freaking 5-11 or something like that, then maybe he'd be pondering like, oh, shit, should I actually end up staying or whatever. But long story short, what we're trying to say is I expected him to be back regardless, but damn, it feels good to get that shit out of the way.
It was cool to announce it the way they did it at the state of the franchise, because Jed, actually, this is the first state of the franchise that Jed came. Now, Jed didn't say much, and I was actually really surprised he wasn't booed. He wasn't cheered. He wasn't cheered, but it wasn't the fact that he wasn't cheered.
Playoffs, right? At this point.
Yeah. I think that, look, I think Jed learned from his uncle. Ownership is fickle. People love you when you're winning championships. You're the worst owner ever when,
quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I was just kind of surprised. But that
would have been a really dirtbag and low move to do.
Yeah, we would have never seen Jed.
I mean, honestly speaking, they literally troll, and everybody knows it. Really. But 49er fans are not really known to troll like that. And thank God they didn't do that shit.
But, it was – I think you would have never seen Jed York at the state of the franchise ever again if he would have got booed. I think really, like, now that it's in the past and I've seen the whole thing, really what I think it was was to announce Joe Staley's contract extension, because that's pretty much the only question that was asked to him is, what are your expectations this year? Which to me, he gave a typical answer, but the details were good and everything. And he said, look, I expect us to be better at the end of the season than we were at the beginning of the season. And, if health and people play.
Because he played it so conservative. Maybe he just didn't want to put that owner pressure on the team.
Exactly. Well, and what you've got to understand with Jed is I think Jed learned with the tweets about Harbaugh and all that and all the backlash he received. He's kind of learned that, like, when he came out and he said, this is Super Bowl or bust.
Well, I was about to ask you, the only thing that you can publicly knock Jed York for during the Harbaugh era was literally on the Thanksgiving Day saying that the 49ers faithful deserve better, right? Unless it was something else.
Yeah, and to me, I was there at that game.
Thanksgiving and shit, dude, that's a main rival. I don't think that was a slap in the face.
Yeah, I don't. Well, see, this is my thing about. I personally, I like the tweet because To me, what it is I think owners are sometimes looked as these people who only care about the money and think. And you know what that showed me? That Jed cared. He cared that people took their Thanksgiving plans, and that was my Christmas present. You know what I'm saying? That was my first game at Levi's.
Exactly.
That was the first
That's why
Niner game.
people felt that way.
Yeah, that was the first Niner game I'd ever been to that we lost. Like I was not a happy camper after that game. Like,
dude, it's on holiday. Let's be real. Like
exactly, it was
double cup
Thanksgiving.
punch. That's why I don't like playing on holidays anymore. Honestly speaking, it's an easy opportunity to have the best holiday ever, or to have a shitty ass holiday.
Yeah, exactly. And so I liked it because it showed Jed cared and everything. But hey, fine, whatever. But to me, I think what he learned is when you came out and you said, look, this is Super Bowl bust, and you really tried to be your uncle, that's cool. That's your uncle. You probably are a lot like him. It's your freaking uncle. And they were close.
Was he really trying to be like his uncle, or was he honestly just stating the obvious?
I think he was trying to
third straight NFC Championship game. I mean, was that Thanksgiving game in 2014?
Yeah, it was 2014.
Okay.
It was first year at Levi's.
And obviously that's when things started going downhill. But still, that essentially, and everybody knew it.
Because if we had won that game, we wouldn't have clinched, but we would have been in a playoff spot.
I mean, who knows what that could have done for momentum and
exactly. And of course, Battle of the Bay and exactly. So to me, it's what I think he learned is what I was trying to basically get to is what he learned is that when you say that, then your feet are held to that fire, especially with this franchise. Especially with this franchise, like because this ain't your typical franchise. So, and so when he came out there and he was, when he talked, and I think that you saw the human side, and I think you really saw how much the players really loved Jed. Because Joe had made a point, and you could tell he was nervous, and because Joe came out and he basically said, "Look, I'm Joe Staley. I'm the loud, obnoxious, big offensive lineman." He goes, I'm not really serious, but he you could tell he was getting emotional, and he's like, "Look, I wanted to only play for one franchise. Like that was my goal when I got drafted. I only want to play for this franchise." And he goes, "I will play." When he said, "I will play till my legs fall off to bring this franchise a championship," to me, that's why I love Joe Staley.
What I love about that? Things are going great and peachy. I can easily see him. Let's just say we're coming off a Super Bowl year in his last one. Let's just say, why would you not go for a repeat? Unless, he does a good old swan song, you go out on top kind of shit. Knowing Joe Staley, though, when you miss
I think if it's this year,
a repeat, in my opinion.
Yeah, if it's this year, he comes back.
So we have no record until the end of 2021. So let's just say it's 2022. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but
okay. So it's if it's after the 2021 season, I think he retires. If we win the 2020 season, I think he does come back, try to repeat and everything like that. But I think this.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because I think essentially what was discussed with Joe is that
retire early, not fulfill the extension.
Yeah, I think it was talked to him that, hey, we love you. You're Joe Staley. You're molding Mike McGlinchey. You're still one of the best. Probably now that Joe Thomas retired, probably on paper the best left tackle in football. On paper, top five at least. At least top five.
Yeah.
So you're being productive.
Nobody really separates each other, so everyone's kind of in the mix. I feel like.
Yeah, but it comes to a point where you got to move on, and which I feel is actually a perfect transition into the Navarro Bowman situation. Now, for those who watched or listened, however you want to say, our episode from Keys are, you see me and Adam. I felt Bo quit on the team. Adam obviously had his opinion. That's not what this discussion is. You want to hear that discussion? Go ahead, listen to that episode. This is just basically to say, look, the one thing I will come out on record right now, the one thing I never, ever questioned is Bo's dedication to the Niners. I will never question that, and his love. Because when he signed that extension, he had said that he wanted to retire and I want to retire a Niner.
Right.
And he had talked about how, this always felt home and everything. And the last moment, last thing I want to touch on, and then I'll let you get into it, Adam, is and we'll get back to the state of the franchise. But
Yeah.
It was really cool seeing him break down the huddle and everything like that. That was really dope. And hearing him talk about how what sticks in his mind is not the pick at the stick, the breakup at fourth down, because he's actually explained that he didn't know it was fourth down. When he broke up that pass in the NFC Championship game, he didn't know it was fourth down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until everybody jumped on him and all that's what he realized. But he was getting.
Seem to have lost TJ over here for a second, but we were talking Navarro Bowman. To share my thoughts about Bowman. Obviously, had a great and crazy good career. Even though unfortunately he ended it a little soon. But yeah, I mean, he has some pretty monstrous seasons, as we all know. So he did. Obviously, his first year started was in 2011. He was drafted in 2010, but didn't really play much besides special teams, I believe. He had 46 total tackles. So I guess he played some part time. I don't remember exactly if Takeo
Spikes was the starter.
Right. So did Takeo Spikes get injured? Because 46 tackles. That sounds like he's.
I think they tried to. I think they started to transition.
Maybe towards the end of the year or something.
Yeah,
I don't really remember. 2010. I guess the last thing I remember about 2010 is Tom Sula was interim coach, and Alex Smith got a W on the last game. So that kind of brought some good juju heading into the offseason. But I'll just bring it up as you got cut out for a second.
Yeah.
So 798 career tackles in 7 years of starting. And we all know, obviously, 2017 started out with us and then ended up on the Raiders and vice versa, and, that kind of BS. So, that one is he still finished up. Actually, he still managed to actually finish that year in 2017 with 127 tackles, according to my math. 43. Yeah.
I mean, that's
almost 137 tackles, I believe. So that's still that's kind of shocking.
Look,
that much many tackles.
To get in our, and then we'll go back to the state of the franchise. But to give my last thoughts about Navarro Bowman, if in 10 years from now, they're having they're having an anniversary showing of the pick at the stick or whatever, and I'm sitting there with little faithful and everything that are asking me, what was it like to watch it, and all that, like I do with people who are older with the catch,
Yeah.
And what I will say is the thing I remember most about Navarro Bowman would be unfulfilled. And when I say unfulfilled, is that we may have saw the best of Navarro Bowman. Like we saw him at his peak.
Yeah.
But the downward turn, if he doesn't blow out his knee in Seattle, the downward turn wasn't going to happen for a while. He unfulfilled. The best of Navarro. I think that if Navarro Bowman doesn't get hurt, I think you're having a no question Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I mean,
I think he's in the Patrick Willis
just for the simple fact of how great he was in his time. Because some people are arguing with that case too. Is like once it comes down to you got to play an X amount of time unless you're Barry Sanders. That's like the only guy off top that comes to mind that's got into the Hall of Fame. But how many years did Barry Sanders play? Did he play 10?
Yeah, something like that. But
close to that. But it's still like people bring that up that you kind of need to put further stats out there and more seasons. But
to me, I think, and obviously I'm biased and everything like this, but what I think it'll boil down to is if one of them goes, both of them will go. If P-Dub goes, then Bowman will go. If Bowman goes, P-Dub will go. Just because, look, for that, from 2011-ish, I'll say 2011, 2012 is when really people really started. But 2011 to the end of 2013, the NFC Championship game, there was no better linebacker duo in maybe NFL history.
I think so. When Navarro Bowman and Patrick skill sets, nobody else ever had that type of talent.
Like you don't. It was. I think it was something that we really couldn't appreciate going through it. I look at it like
we just got used to it. Unfortunately,
exactly because I remember what made me appreciate Jerry Rice was after he's gone, and I realized wide receivers just didn't do the thing. Like good wide receivers, starters, like legit wide receiver, number one receivers, still don't do what Jerry did. And I saw a statistic that said from the age of 31 until retirement, Jerry Rice, there was only like 20 receivers or some very low number of receivers that had more yards in their total career than Jerry did from age 31 until he retired.
Yeah, I think I've seen something like that.
And so that type of thing right there is made me realize, okay, receivers just don't do it, Jerry Rice. They don't just roll out of bed and be Jerry Rice.
And that's insane.
Even T.O. wasn't Jerry Rice.
How much more physical the game was then too, which is super duper kudos.
Yeah. So getting into the state of the franchise, things that came out was we got Joe Staley, George Kittle bobblehead. I'll go ahead and put the it's a 5 key things from on the Niners website. I'll put it in the show notes today. But it'll be available on NinerFaithfulRadio.com. But so basically we have the bobbleheads coming out. They're bringing back the all-white throwbacks for the Panthers game. Those who watch the show know how I feel. I mean, look, I voiced my opinion, but I know I'm in the minority. I know a majority of people like him, and Shanahan has said he liked them. So, Shanahan's going to outrule me 10 times out of 10. So, especially when they're I would probably say the best-selling jerseys last year.
I think they just mean a lot more to people that are probably in the 35 and up range.
Well, of course.
I think
and my knock.
Imagine if you were 40 at the time, the 49ers last Super Bowl, that kind of rekindles the memories of the past and all that.
Exactly.
To us, it sounds like they're chill, and that's pretty much it.
Us, it's well, also, I think what you got to go to is, I think what people, a lot of people don't remember was that those were our jerseys in like the 50s and 60s. So, for example, Miss Debbie, my Empire mom. Hi, Miss Debbie. I love you. So, she became a fan in 1966. So she probably remembers when the Niners were wearing those jerseys.
Yeah.
Because I believe it was the 70s where we switched to the ones the famous ones through the 80s and, all that. I believe was the 70s. So she probably lightweight remembers the Niners.
I'm sure kids were floating around at the time of 66.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's some fact. I talked to this dude. Hello, Mark. Thanks for listening. I met this older dude today on the bus, diehard Niner fan.
Whoa. What do you mean by old? I'm just kidding.
I said older, dude, and everything like that. He'd been a fan since 1957 is when he became a Niner fan.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He was like, I think he said he was like 7 or something like that.
Name dropping.
His dad took him to a game at Kezar.
And their dad.
His dad took him to a game at Kezar and everything. He said he fell in love with it because the seagulls and just it was a whole dope thing. It would actually be really cool to get him on the show and just kind of talk Niner football. Like, Grandpa, please tell me stories.
5 hours special. Just
like the equivalent of those of us who have maybe grandparents that served in World War II, kind of sitting on Grandpa's lap, telling war stories. Obviously, not as heroic and things of that nature. But kind of the same equivalent. Oh, by the way, also that before we forget, I promise people a special thank you to everybody. It was the 70th anniversary of Normandy. We don't really like to get political on the show and everything like that, but a special thank you to all the brave men and women that stormed that was when they showed President Trump and all the distinguished dignitaries talking and everything. And that was the first time I actually really saw like a live view of the beach of Normandy. And they described like, this is where the gun, and when you really see it, you're just kind of like, bro, that's crazy. Like, that's a suicide mission, bro. They went on a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And so to be 19 years old and see that, and for some reason have the balls. Sorry, we're trying to keep it more professional, but I think that we could all respect that. To have the balls to charge into that, man, that's some shit I can't do, brother. That's some shit I can do.
Going full yellow before yellow was even existed.
Yeah, like seriously. So to all y'all, American, French, whoever y'all are, thank you. Because
sure.
as a person who
my brother yesterday, as a first generation American, I told him, I was like, I am so proud to be an American. And even though I'm first generation, like I don't have no backgrounds. I didn't have anybody in the military or anything like that. But I was like, I used to live in Greece when I was younger. So I mean, ever since then, it's like you can. I'm not gonna be all cliche over here and say literally you can be everything you want to be and all that, because it's true to a certain point. But sometimes, if you want to become president, and I don't think you and I, if you want to really be one, would rather be president. But it's honestly just feels so good that and how much we underestimate how good we have it. Because obviously, if you look around the world and what they're going through, and at times Greece is in the shambles right now with their economy and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just very blessed and feel so good to be an American, and I cannot thank the people enough who allowed even my parents to come over here and all that kind of run around. So I'm very thankful.
Exactly, and I think that somebody who somebody like myself who I believe it was my grandpa was born here, but I believe his parents were probably my closest relatives to not being American. So my great-great-grandparents. So basically somebody we all know, the black side, and somebody who, so pretty much everybody who I have met in my family pretty much was an American. Yeah. But I think we could both sit here and understand from different perspectives. You being first generation American and having your parents probably explain to you what it was like to not grow up in a country like America. And to me, somebody like myself, who I've been able to talk to people who aren't from here and just hearing the crazy things, like the fact of being able to say anything we want right here on air, and we don't have to worry about the government coming in and putting a bullet through our head.
Yeah.
Is something that we all, regardless of how we feel about politically, love Trump, hatred, whatever it is, let's all appreciate the fact we live in a country that we have the freedoms
1,000%
that we do.
Yep.
So, but I just want to make sure to give a special appreciation. And Mark he was in the service, so it kind of just brought it up. But anyway, so they're going to bring back the white jerseys. I have no problem with the jerseys. I just don't want to wear white at home.
I'm just surprised. How come you don't think they did maybe change it up and go with the 94-95 red ones?
Yeah, see, I think what it is look, at the end of the day,
was it really because we didn't see Jimmy in the white jersey last year because he was hurt?
Right.
Another year?
And let's put it real. Probably the most popular selling jersey was a white number 10. Let's be probably by far. In the beginning of the season, towards the end of the season, probably came the 85 in white.
Yeah.
But yeah, clearly at the beginning of the season, number 10 white jerseys were. And let's be real. I don't believe the Niners are all about the money. I wanted to say it was something like, since they started the 49er Foundation.
If it was about money, right? Because then people didn't buy it.
Just this is something that the last business side of the state of the franchise thing I want to kind of get into, and y'all can watch it. I'll go ahead and post a link in the show notes. But for the probably nobody that hasn't watched it already, what makes me proud, and people ask me, why are you a Niner fan, especially being in a family that was majority Raider fans. And at least the ones I watched football with, except my grandpa. And I said, you know what it is?
Story.
Not as so much as a kid, it was whatever, we were winning in it. But as I got older, it was things like the minority coaching program that Bill Walsh started, things of that nature. And number two, it's they said it at the state of the franchise, it's $40 million since the start of the 49ers Foundation, $40 million that they've given to Bay Area communities.
That's huge.
And really, honestly, we're not going to go into it and everything, so people, don't get offended or anything. But when Jed York matched Cap's donation and everything, regardless of how you feel about the situation, you got to respect that. To me, that made me proud as a Niner fan to have Jed York say, "Look, I disagreed with Cap's, protest and everything like that, and how he did it." But Jed York said, but I believe that this is an issue, so let me put my money where the mouth. And that's what I respect more than anything, is the fact that Jed York disagreed with it.
Go ahead.
Look, I have family that are in the military.
Yeah.
So I understand why some people would feel that way. But all I ask of people is not to agree with how he did it or the pig socks or things like that. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, he had some slip ups.
But I understand why he did it.
1,000%. If you don't like, I don't know if you was like I said, you don't have to like it, but if you don't understand, shit, you better do some reading or something. I don't
Yeah.
know what to tell you.
And that's what I got for Jed York is Jed York saying, hey, you know what? I don't agree, but you know what? Hey, this is the issue. Let's do so. And that's why. So anyway.
It's kind of like a personality. You don't have to love everything about somebody, but you literally love some parts of him or you really respect some parts of him. You don't have to like the whole piece, the whole pie. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Pizza. Maybe you only like a certain portion of it and the rest you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Vegetarian. I'm not going to touch none of that. I'll let somebody else have it.
Yeah. We're sticking with the state of the franchise theme. Is that sticking to the state of the franchise theme? Kyle Shanahan had said that him and his coaching staff, they want to fight each other every other day. They want to fight each other probably every other day. But what does that mean? And by the way, just to touch on it real quick, that Lynch and Ham beef is bullshit, bro. Because they honestly, they need to talk to the Oscar Academy. Because if those people are really at each other's throats to the point where they might not work together after this year, then they deserve some freaking Oscars, bro. Because they're great actors.
It was draft season. That's like saying, hey, me and you, TJ, are going to do a 7-round mock draft, and you want to take these players. I want to take these players. At the end of the day, we're going to duke it out and battle it out until we pretty much come to mutual terms. You know what I mean?
I think it was Nick from NBN. By the way, big shout out, Nick. Thanks for watching, bro. Because if you're not watching now, I know you'll watch later. That he said he called it creative tension. It's called our asses on the line. This is the third year.
That's some serious shit.
And I think what I got mostly from Jed York's and the very few words that he actually said was that he seems to be a reasonable person and understand losing Jimmy G. Cool was a hurt, but the fact is, I think what he expected this year is, look, we've built enough around Jimmy G. Cool. Yeah, he's probably one of the most important pieces, but we've built enough around him that going 4-12 again isn't acceptable. Yeah. Now, if we lost a horrible scenario, knock on wood. We lost him. I think it would be reasonable to be 9-7.
If we lost who?
Jimmy G. Cool. I think it'd be reasonable to go 9-7.
I mean, shit, I just watched the Kurt Warner football life again yesterday, baby, and everything just kind of came back. You just never know, but
hey, last time we lost our starting quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look,
doing pretty good again. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that didn't turn out.
You
could have turned out better that year.
Go back to Joe too.
But yeah. So I mean, it's throughout Niner history where we've lost a starting quarterback and a backup, i.e. Steve Young, Cap. Joe was a backup at one point in time, but he was drafted as the future. So that was a little different scenario. But so, I mean, it is what it is. So also one of the major things that I wanted to get to, and then we'll go ahead and get into OTAs is that Jimmy G. Cool does have a sexy ass football cadence as far as football cadence go. And the one thing I really recognized and what got me most fired up and I was ready to go put on some shoulder pads was football players. I mean, they're a confident group of people, but I don't. When I look at D Ford and I look at players that aren't Defo, that aren't Jimmy, that aren't George Kittle, players that Joe Staley. When I look at D Ford and he's excited and he's walking and confident, sticking out his chest, and hey, we're going to do some things this year and things like that tells me something. Because D Ford could have gone to other places. He could have not extended his extension.
Comes down to, dude, I think you scrolled. I mean, I'm sure these guys obviously know exactly what's happened with the 49ers, who's coming back from injury, who they had, and all that. And I guarantee you, they took a look at the 70. Obviously, we're at the 90-man roster right now, but let's shave off 15 heads that are probably straight up bodies. You know what I mean? Straight up training camp, off-season bodies. But like, let's just say this, like what? Because even before the draft, I remember the 53-man roster. You're like, kind of like, whoa. Like, I'm not saying this is a championship contending team right then and there before the draft.
Mhm.
I think you never know what can happen. Once again, we've been there, done that. So I don't want to hear shit. That's the beautiful thing about sports. You never know. You can't sit here and tell me, oh, the 49ers are not going to go anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs and this and that. Well, it's like, all right, if you want to try to play Nostradamus, whatever. But I think they honestly looked at it and they said the 70-man roster, give or take, 65-man roster is solid. And
Yeah.
I'm going to do my part to put my best foot forward and ball out of control and hopefully lead by example where, it carries over. Everybody else is feeling good. Everybody else is playing at their best. Everybody else is fully confident. You get on a nice roll like we did in 2011.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it to you this way. I think when they approach D4, now this is a trade, so it's a little different scenario, but I think when they obviously were talking to Quan Alexander, let's just use him example because he was a free agent. They said, hey, come play next to Fred Warner.
Hell of a tandem if they're healthy.
Yeah. And a solid. Look, everybody, let's get this real. They're not going to be Bo and Willis. Okay, let's just get that. But they're going to be solid.
Quan has already been an official Pro Bowler, and we all know sometimes it's a little.
Everybody that you talk to in Tampa Bay said he was the heart and soul of their defense. He was essentially like if we would have took Patrick Willis circa maybe 09.
Well, like we remember too, the dude is like a month younger than Reuben Foster, and we were praying he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
Exactly.
And he just tore his ACL, which is
so
Quan is coming back from his ACL tear. Shit is nuts, dude. Shit is nuts.
Yeah.
Imagine if we still had Reuben Foster, never signed Quan, and he just tore his ACL, would be like, here we go.
Yeah. It would have been horrible. So I think they probably talked to him like, hey, we're looking about, because they probably had known the ability with D Ford. They knew the trade was coming. They're probably either waiting for the OBJ to fall apart or whatever other moves, but they probably came to him like, hey, we're making some moves. We might add D Ford, we might add this. When they came to D Ford, look, you got D Ford, we got DeForest Buckner. They probably came to him and said, hey, we're getting Nick Bosa. They said, look, as long as Arizona doesn't take him at 1, we'll get you Nick Bosa, and these things.
Josh Allen, Clelin Ferrell, freaking, what's his name? Old boy from Brian Burns. We're getting to that pressure.
Exactly. It's not going to be circa the D Ford show. It's everything. And so there's actually a really interesting video. I'll send it to you, Adam, because I really think you'll get a kick out of it. You'll really enjoy this. But it's Grant Cohen. Love him, hate him. But he breaks down the strengths and weaknesses of the wide 9. And it's really informative, really detailed, and shows you, film. And it really, I learned a lot. And so the point he brought up, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, is what essentially I understood is you're susceptible up to tackles if you use wide 9. Now, I think he went a little extreme about it and act like all we're ever going to do is line up in wide 9 and, Coach K is going to refuse anything else. Like, no, if it's an obvious running down, then we'll play a different
And the 49ers in yards per carry given up, defensive yards per carry given up to the opposing team's running back. We were tied for 7th, I believe, with a 4.1 average. So that ain't broken. That's why part of me is like, yo, just stick to the same deal in base. And who knows what's going to happen. But as we know, teams in the NFL run 11 personnel so much, which is obviously 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. They run that so much that it's like I said, you do leave yourself vulnerable up the middle, but I'm sure we're not going to be almost use a bad word there, sorry. But it's a play by ear kind of a thing, but it's also kind of a bend but don't break philosophy in terms of it's a passing lead. So if we see teams are taking advantage of that a little bit, then we'll adjust in the run game. If we get gashed up the middle a few times, the biggest vulnerability of the area is up the middle. And you can leave yourself vulnerable to draw plays and things like that. But you play that by ear because obviously more of a focus needs to be pass game / pass rush.
To me, I think this year is a huge year, for Lynch and but also Robert Saleh. Because the one thing that if you come to me and you say, okay, TJ, no coach is perfect, we're both on air. We love Shanahan. I really do think he'll take us to the promised land. I think we possibly could have got the best coaching hire we could have got that year. we slam dunked.
It's a different day for discussion, but I also was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
you earlier. I was like, what would have happened if Jim Harbaugh would have stayed, but we would have been mediocre?
Exactly.
We would have been happy.
What if Bill Walsh didn't leave and George Seifert left? Because George Seifert was going to leave until the Niners called him and were like, "Hey,
he promoted Mike Shanahan or Mike Holmgren or some shit."
Exactly. What if Holmgren would have took over?
I wanted to bring this up about the Y9 before I lose my train of thought.
Yeah.
Chris Kachurik, obviously, who used to be with the Lions, who learned under Schwartz and so forth, and obviously with the Dolphins, and he did the Y9 there. They've never had a linebacker talent like Colin Alexander, Fred Warner, which is part of the reason why some people do not like the Y9, but they never had the great linebackers for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm already going to say they're going to be a great linebacker duo if they're healthy.
Yeah, I do too. I think that look, Fred Warner was my surprise of the draft last year. I came in and I was like, we essentially drafted
round pick.
I had Chris, my boy Chris Diaz from Fifth Down Sports Show on the show last year, and I agreed with him where I essentially thought we drafted a hybrid, safety linebacker, and basically a third down.
He did at BYU.
Yeah, linebacker, and I said, that's all good for third down, and I was wrong. I will admit when I'm wrong, just like I was wrong about Frank Gore, and I will scream that to the heavens. I will look at Frank Gore in his eyes and say,
do you remember going back to that draft? Were you disappointed when we took Frank Gore?
Yes, I remember.
You wanted somebody else?
No, that was the two ACLs.
And then you were like, "Oh my god, what the hell?"
Yeah, I was like, "Why the hell were we drafting already back with two ACL tears?"
I guess at the time it was just like I didn't even care about nitpicking. It was just like, great, we got a dude named Frank Gore and started using him in Madden.
I knew Frank Gore's. See, I'm a Gators fan, so I knew Frank Gore's career from Miami playing Florida and everything like that. So I knew Frank Gore. So the talent
in front of Edgerrin James.
Edgerrin James, it was Clinton Portis.
There you go. I think that was it.
Yeah. And Jeremy Shockey had came out. Ken Dorsey. We had gotten Frank Gore and Ken Dorsey.
He was still the starter ahead of those guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And those
the
were
talent with me. The issue wasn't the talent with Frank Gore.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was drafting him after the two ACL tears. That's what I had the issue with. I'm glad. I'm jumping up and down. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for making me be wrong.
Be a top 4 in all-time yards. Can you imagine though if he never had those two ACL tears?
Well, I think why I love sports so much is, and this is my point about Dre Greenlaw, which we'll get into OTAs because there's some things with that. But that gets to my point in Dre Greenlaw is what I think gets underestimated a lot in sports or overlooked a lot by a lot of people in sports is determination and coming back from things. And when I say determination and coming back from things, if Frank Gore tears his ACL, doesn't tear his ACL, does he work as hard? Does he have that chip on his shoulder?
I think
is he
even further of a beast, in my opinion.
Is he as loyal to the Niners as he was? Because to get in and we'll move on to this, and it'll be a discussion for a different day, the dead time before training camp. But the story is that a lot of people called up Frank and we'll take you first round and all that. And the day before the draft, Frank Gore called Scott McClough. Yeah, I believe it was Scott McClough.
Terry Donahue was gone by then and all that.
Yeah, Terry Donahue. Yeah, it was Scott McClough. He called Scott McClough and was like, they're going to take me in the first round. And he said, Frank, I can't take you in the first round because your injury history. He goes, but we got the first pick in the third round. If you're there, we'll take you. And he was. And of course, we all know he took him. And ever since then, Scott McClough is the one who told the story. He was on 95.7 The Game, a sports station out here in the Bay Area. And Scott McClough was the one who told the story. Or it might have been KMBR. But he told the story, and he said, me and Frank have been friends ever since. Because he came to me and he cried. And he goes, I think that really what gave Frank that loyalty was, look, you took a chance on me.
Yeah.
Other teams. And so if he doesn't tear his ACL, we don't get Frank because Frank would have probably gone in the first round. We're not taking Frank first overall, so we don't get Frank Gore. So how much of Niner history is different? So what if scenarios till we go crazy? But to get into minicamp, apparently, at least according to Grant Cohen, we said in this video, it looks like Dre Greenlaw might have the lead at Sam.
Right now.
Right now. Now, I think that's because of people not practicing.
Right, because as we know, we talked about it off here. Fred Warner's out until training camp, but so right now, you would like to think that, and Quality Alexander is still not fully cleared, right? I'm sure they're going to save him for training camp. So right now, Malcolm Smith is filling in at the Mike, aka middle linebacker, and obviously Elijah Lee is filling in at the will. So Greenlaw, but that's a really good sign, though. That's a really good sign because why isn't Nziocha at the same as you played last year?
Exactly, and so my whole
advantage, like Fred, remember Fred took advantage last year. Who was he? He was plugging in from Malcolm Smith, right?
Why is Adrian Colbert on the team? Adrian Colbert is on the team because he was drafted as a corner who could play some safety.
Yeah.
But Adrian Colbert's on the team because Jimmy Ward got hurt. He
we lose him?
Stupid internet.
Oh, there he goes. He's back.
Okay. Good. We're back. So he balled out the last preseason game, forced that fumble against San Diego, and now AC's our start. Well, was our starter.
Might be the same. This might be the same thing that happens this year, except for the fact that he's already been implemented at safety. But
and then
like it's time again.
And then to get into a little bit of this is the offensive line and what you brought up earlier about Joshua Garnett is I was thinking about this last night because you have been on the Joshua Garnett train. You have, and I'll give you credit for that.
I'm just saying, if you're writing him off, I don't know what to tell you. We've seen sports 1,000 fudging times, dude. I'm telling you right now. Once again, and the guy had the lead last year, but I've seen it contract year shit 1,000 times.
Oh yeah. We've all seen it.
It's like you're doing everything possible. I wouldn't be surprised if that dude is living at the facility right now, just doing everything in his willpower, like recovery-wise, like, obviously scheme-wise and all the whole runaround. And let's not forget, so he was drafted by Chip Kelly. Obviously, next year he gets fired, yada, yada. But, he's going on, obviously, year 3 of the scheme, which is pretty much money. So he should know the ins and outs and everything like that. And I haven't heard one report that's saying he's not healthy. Under the radar.
And to me, look at the dedication he showed in losing all that weight.
Dude, he has the goodies in terms of, he's more of a bull, obviously, compared to Mike Person. In my own opinion, I think it's just Shanahan trusted Mike Person more with assignments and everything like that.
I did too.
And he just didn't do enough to regain his starting job. But this offseason, I would like to think low-key, behind the scenes, Shanahan has said that the job is open for competition. I think that on record saying Mike Person is our starter at right guard.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
I haven't heard that.
I think this is. They've had to come to Joshua Garnett.
What's up?
And not picking up his 5th-year option tells me something that they've probably came up to him and said, "Hey, be the starter, or we're just gonna cut you."
Maybe.
Now, I personally think that he'd be a really solid backup, and so you don't. Because this is my thing is if you ask me, would Josh in an ideal world would Joshua Garnett be our starter? I would like to say yeah. And the reason I like to say yeah, I was just thinking about this last night because I knew that this would come up today when we talked about OTAs and, because this is obviously a semi low-key.
Not a real 49ers faithful unless you're just chilling around, just thinking some random shit.
About like it's 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. You're thinking about, so what would really make our offensive line better?
You're thinking about
is
some other special team gunners coming, can take a step forward. Who knows?
Not saying, that it always works like this and everything like that, but you have Joe Staley, 1st rounder. You have Laken Tomlinson, 1st rounder.
Who was considered a bust at one point himself.
Yeah, was considered a bust at one point himself.
Detroit.
Okay, then you have Big Rich, Nice Rich, 2nd rounder. Joshua Garnett in this scenario, 1st rounder.
Yeah.
And Mike McGlinchey, 1st rounder.
Yep.
Now, what does that kind of sound familiar? I think that kind of sounds familiar because that seems a lot like the offensive line we had during Harbaugh, right?
Yeah.
Oh, kind of interesting, right? Kyle Shanahan is his explosive offensive plays come a lot off of play action, right? So having a solid offensive line with the ability to run block probably sounds like a big key to Kyle Shanahan's offense. And so having Mike Person, who was our starter, played well, all those things as a backup.
A hair above average.
Yeah. As a backup to Joshua Garnett means one of two things. Means Joshua Garnett busted his ass and was pushed. And it brought out the best, which we're going to get the best of Joshua Garnett because Mike Person's right on his heels.
He was on a contract year. He was like, yo, this is my last opportunity. I'm with Shane. Exactly. I got to take advantage of this shit. And
he's right on his heels. Don't think that if Joshua Garnett slips for a second that Kyle Shanahan won't insert Mike Person.
Yep.
Because this is what they wanted. I think that they've created what they really wanted. Which last year, which is they wanted to create that where we lacked last year, which is to create much competition as possible.
Yep. Well, I mean,
and so guess what?
The roster is stacked now to that degree where I wouldn't expect anything less.
When Bill Walsh pinned Joe against, well, okay, I hate to say it like that, but it was the competition was Joe against Steve. You know what it did? Brought out the best in Joe Montana and brought out the best in Steve Young.
Yeah,
and brought us
Bill Walsh over.
Brought us 2 more rings. I think.
Yeah.
So, brought us 2 more and really 3 because, of the one that Steve won. So, brought us more rings. And so, that's going to bring the best out of Joshua Garnett, which obviously had enough talent to be taken in the first round. Okay. And then we have a very solid, capable backup in Mike Person, who has the versatility to play guard and center.
And tackle
in a pinch.
He could become like your swing tackle then, maybe.
And so really that pretty much sounds like our best offensive line. To put us in the best position to have the best possible offensive line we could.
And sometimes the trenches, let's be honest, sorry to cut you off there, that they take time to obviously get to that, you know what I mean, just to get to the point of playing consistently solid. I mean, sometimes, like I said, some guys hit the ground running and some guys just need the time. And unfortunately, not everyone likes hearing that, but sometimes the light bulb just goes off in year 3, maybe year 4. Like our
5 or 6 or whatever.
I know he only had 3 sacks last year. I thought it was 5 at one point for some reason.
But I mean, you look at
step forward.
Look at what Ian Williams. Look at what Ian Williams said when we had him on the show. When we asked him, what was the point in 2011 that you thought like, hey, we might have something here, and what did he mention? Crabtree, the light went off. He started playing like the first rounder that he was.
Consistent.
And so sometimes, it's like this.
Still.
It's, some people might call it cruel, but does the mommy bird coddle the baby and say, hey, whenever you're ready? No, what does it do? It tosses it out of the nest. And, does that mean that, some baby birds are going to die? Yeah, probably. But, what does it do? It creates the strongest birds, right? So does that mean that some people are going to be cut this year? Yeah, probably. Some people that we like, some people, good players, are going to be cut. But guess what that means? We're going to build the strongest baby birds. So we're going to have the strongest players.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think that what I told this person I was talking to that was still booty tickled about, the Niners choosing, Steve over Joe. You could probably guess the person's age by that statement and still not being over it. But
40,
probably 50s. But so to me, it's is your loyalty to the team or to a player? And it's fine if your loyalty is to a player. I know somebody that's watching the show right now that if it's not just an ordinary Niner shirt or doesn't have Jerry on it, she doesn't want it. She didn't want a Jimmy Garoppolo jersey. She doesn't want a Navarro. Oh, we know she has Navarro Bowman stuff. I think she might have Jimmy Garoppolo. But still, you know what I'm saying? Her is Jerry, and that's just the way it is. I know that she was devastated when Jerry left, as I was too. And a lot of us were.
Honestly,
but,
why did he get the boot? Yeah, because he still had a couple solid years with the Raiders after.
Honestly, to get into it, and then I think we'll probably start to wrap it up.
It's up to Bill Walsh. It's good to get rid of a player a year too early than too late. But if you don't have
Who's the TO?
that's better or as good, you don't cut that damn guy.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: it was the natural order of things, and when I say the natural order of things, it's the way we had done it as an organization, and so we moved on from Joe. Now Joe asked to be traded, but still, we moved on to Joe to Steve. We moved on from Ronnie, Roger, these, Randy Cross, all these players, and so it was, time to pass the torch. The torch was literally passed on Jerry Rice Day when, it was time to go, let Jerry go and bring in T.O. So
T.O. was already bossing it at that over.
Yeah, he was too. So, but so to me, plus I think they saw the salary cap hell coming.
Oh yeah, that's
so to me.
I was about to bring that up.
The older players probably didn't take it as hard because they had seen Joe leave, they had seen Ronnie, they had seen all these other players leave. I was just so devastated because that was my first night, and it was like, bro, how could you? Probably the day, like my cousin, I'll never forget this. Probably one of my youngest Niner memories is my mama took me to 7-Eleven, and it was the first time I got a suicide Slurpee, which is all the flavors. And
Coke in there.
So it was a suicide Slurpee, and I remember my mama turned it on KFRC, which is an oldie station out here in the Bay Area, and they played that bye bye Miss American Pie, and they said, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Montana has just been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Damn.
And I remember, bro, my cousin, when we got home, my cousin was pissed.
I bet.
He was the biggest Joe Montana fan. Rest in peace, bro. Biggest Joe Montana fan you could ever imagine. He was a huge Joe fan.
Yeah.
And so he was hurt. And so, but it didn't affect me that much because it was, I don't remember Joe Montana. So I remember looking at my daughter and having to console her and hold her and rub her head and all that when I told her that Cap wasn't on the Niners anymore. She was devastated. She was crying. And I had to hold her, and it's okay, princess, and all that, because Cap was her dude. It'll happen again when, Mike McGlinchey or George Kittle or whoever. These things happen. It's sports. So, but before we start to wrap it up and give our final thoughts and whatnot, I want to go ahead and announce this big news. So, he didn't tell me, I guessed. Basically, what they talked about is that the TO day, putting him in the 49ers Hall of Fame is the home opener. He said week 3, our bye week's week 3. So what I'm assuming he meant is the third game.
Well, I think our bye week is week 4.
Oh, it is week 4? I
think so. Let me double check. One of my homes. Yeah,
I thought it was the 2 road.
Yeah, then we have bye week 4, then we play Monday Night Football against.
Okay. So I'm mistaken. It is week 3. Okay, I'm mistaken.
All good.
But okay, so what they had brought up something to do with the Ring of Honor. And so what it is they're not just putting T.O. in the Niner Hall of Fame. They're putting him up in the Ring of Honor. And if I'm not mistaken, I would have to double check, but every number that's in the Ring of Honor is retired. So my putting 2 to 2 together, they're going to retire T.O.'s jersey.
And Jordan Matthews is going to get cut.
Or change his number. But okay. So you know what? As it's getting closer to the season and I'm analyzing and I'm hearing things and everything like that I think Jordan Matthews might be a Jeremy Curley situation where they re-signed him because, and then ended up and
You're
so
like,
when people re-signed him, I thought it was a done deal. I was actually shocked that they cut him.
I mean, why did we cut Jeremy Curley?
Trent Taylor.
And were we missing out on somebody? I think it was just that and giving the opportunity to maybe Aldrick Robinson. It was a make or break for him kind of a thing. And Curley just. So,
you draft Jordan Matthews, you bring in Jordan Matthews, to give you that big body receiver because you didn't have one. And then you go draft Jalen Hurd and hey, things change after the draft, right? So
and all that kind of
thing. I'm not going to say that it's impossible or he's a slam or
No.
that I would even be completely shocked. I would just be a little disappointed, but I understand that, because I understand if it boils down to, okay, well, who are you taking off? Especially after the preseason, people ball out, all that thing. Like, okay, well, who are you taking off? You want to lose KB? No. You want to lose Trent Taylor? No. You want to lose? You're not losing
I
Dante
don't want to lose
Pettit.
Mitch
So I
either.
think it might come down to that.
And that's what it comes down to. If things are even anywhere near close, you always go with the potential. I mean, honestly, a ceiling is a real thing for players.
Yeah, it is.
No other way around it.
I think Jordan Matthews might also be some. Now there's no reason to believe that he won't be full go for training camp, but I think it might even be a Jalen Hurd insurance.
Who knows? Honestly speaking, dude, I would not be surprised if you see. I'm not trying to get
IR stash
like it's inside info or something like that. But like, hey, what if Trent Taylor or Richie James they don't get traded for a pick, but maybe let's just say we've done business with the Broncos or something like that. Maybe they have a position that we kind of like, and for example, right now what comes to mind is pass rusher. I want someone else as a number 4 after Ron and Blair, because if D Ford or Nick Bosa go down, Blair becomes a starter, and who's your main backup then? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, don't be surprised if you kind of see a trade like that. But unless something like that occurs or an injury,
yeah. So that's the little exclusive news. Now, T.O. is being put up. That part is guaranteed, because I guessed. I said, I walked up to him and I said, Mr. Guido. And he goes, please, just Al. And I said, nice to meet you, Al. I'm TJ McKinney. Gave him the whole spiel and everything like that. And I said, I have a question for you, sir. And he goes, shoot. And I said, so you talked about somebody being put in the Ring of Honor. I said, it's T.O., huh? And he goes, yeah, like that. And I said, thank you. I said, it's really good to have T.O. back home. He goes, I'm with you. I was a huge T.O. fan myself. And so, we talked for a little bit and everything like that. Now, as far as his jersey being retired, that's just me kind of speculating of, hey, every number that's up in the Ring of Honor is retired. So all of a sudden, are we going to start putting up numbers in the Ring of Honor that aren't retired? Or are we going to retire his number? I think it would be to retire his number.
And who knows? I mean, shit, would it be really tacky if they just say, let's just say Jordan Matthews is cut, nobody has 81. Would it be tacky if they say they're retiring it for the year?
No. Or just saying, hey, we're not going to give it out for a while.
Special.
Yeah, or just we're not going to give it out for a while.
Right. Or
or anything. Because let's be realistic. Besides T.O., the next one is going to be Frank. Frank's going to be – he's going to retire a Niner. He's going to go in the Ring of Honor. They're going to retire his jersey, and he's going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. That's just a done data.
Yeah, we don't need to see that.
I think it's going to be like 52. Do I think that they're going to retire – I'm okay with the only players' jerseys retiring are Hall of Famers and Dwight. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I get a little in my feelings about BY, but whatever. You can't retire everybody's number. So, to me, realistically, I don't think you're going to retire. And they did kind of give it out kind of fast. Nizocha is already 53. So I think maybe he might be coming. I think he might be having a number switch, but. First one that comes to mind is 52. I don't think 52 will be retired, but I just don't think
you think it should.
No, if he doesn't get in the Hall.
I'd say yes. It's not even the cutest number, anyways, and he made it that badass. I'd say do it. And I think you're also setting the expectation, not necessarily expectation, but it's an incentive of hey, this is what you meant to the franchise at one point. We're forever going to be thankful over that. So I think it kind of.
I would put BY over. I would put retiring 97 over retiring 52. But that's just a historical.
Dude, you know how I look at it is, how do we know who's going to be the next Hall of Famers or really
exactly? What if Nick Bosa is a Hall of Famer? Not out the question.
But it won't. You won't see that for 8 to 10 years, though.
Oh, of course. So my question is,
who the hell are you going to see?
We'll go ahead and give it up. I'll ask just this one, and especially it'll get to the point we touched with. Joe Staley, a Hall of Famer? Yes or no?
I think he will be a yes eventually.
I don't think he gets in first time.
If you would retire this offseason, no. I'll say that.
But I think there could be some things that make him a first ballot. But yeah, he is a Hall of Famer.
He will be.
Yeah, he'll be a Hall of Famer. Now, saying that, he'll go and, put his statue and be in the 49ers Hall, all that. But do you retire 74?
Hell yeah. Why not?
I do too. Yeah, I do too. I just do because it's
I don't know
offensive lineman number.
Their feelings about retiring numbers. Like, dude, there's still playing numbers. I don't give a damn. Like, once again,
Also to me is what you have to understand is because to me retiring a number isn't just so much to honor how great of a player you were. It's also to say what you meant to the franchise.
exactly.
And so to me, Joe Staley has gone out of his way to stay a Niner. To not honor him.
I'm wrapping up this year and I'm joining the freaking Patriots next year. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, to not honor him with somebody that came out and made it such a big deal that he wants to be a Niner. The man who contemplated retirement in 2017, other than, hey, trade me.
Yeah. Yeah.
To not honor him by that, I think would be I think that would be a classics act. Like you have to retire 70.
Man, the only thing I'm praying for now, man, is just getting it done within the next 3 years. So,
yeah, that's what it is. To switch it into hockey reference real quick, we don't want now. Obviously, Joe Thornton's on a different level than even Joe Staley because Joe Thornton's one of the greatest hockey players ever to live. But Joe Staley's one of the best left tackles. But we don't want Joe Staley to turn into Joe Thornton. Basically, the last couple of years, the only reason Joe Thornton's came back to the Sharks is to win a cup. If Joe Thornton comes back this year, it's strictly to win a cup, and that's nothing to do with wanting, but he just wants to win a cup. We don't want Joe Staley to turn into that because what I'm trying to avoid, and I think with the Niners, what was discussed behind closed doors was the Niners don't want that awkward transition of having to let him go. And having to have that awkward, awkwardness and Navarro Bowman situation. Now, everything's all good and, it's all understood and everything like that. But sometimes those situations can't turn out too pretty.
It was all good.
It
was all good just a week ago.
Yeah. It was all good just a week ago, right? He had no ill will towards Kyle and John when his agent demanded a trade. No, he didn't have any type of ill will towards them. No, he loved him. And look, you know what I think? And we'll wrap it up at this. I think what happened is Bo realized that not everybody gets to ride out like Patrick Willis. Not everybody gets to ride out on their own terms. Basically, the league told Navarro Bowman. And the league told Navarro Bowman in the sense that he had offers. Like, there were people who were willing, to bring him on. But he was.
I think the Saints. There was a report the Saints offered like a 7th round pick, but he probably should have took it instead of going to the damn Raiders. But he probably didn't want to move and the whole whoopty whoop.
Yeah, I think that's really what it was.
But they just wanted him to choose on his own. But yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think what it is the fact that Navarro Bowman didn't want to get the contract he wanted to get. Because he talked about in his interview that's on YouTube and the Niners website and all that, is he basically said that he wasn't going to get the type of contract he wanted. So he must have said, well, are you depending on this to provide for your family? No. Okay, then retire. If I'm not going to get paid what I want, and, the type of contract I want, and I don't need this to provide for my family or anything of that nature, then all right, cool, let's retire and come back. Now, he doesn't live he's back in the D.C. area where he's from.
Yeah, he's from like Maryland was that?
Yeah, it's something Maryland, but it's basically right by Washington, D.C.
Okay.
But so he's not in the Bay Area, but, love him. The pick at the stick. He said that the moments that stick out to him are the more, i.e., fumble in the NFC Championship game, the plays that he got screwed on, basically. But he said as far as plays that went to the because they asked him, is the pick of your stick your favorite play? And he said, that's the fans' favorite. But he said, as far as the plays that went the way that he goes, you could tell that he was like, look, being remembered in team history for the pick at the stick, you could tell there'd be worse things that we'd be remembered for.
Of Navarro Bowman.
The greatest moment of Navarro Bowman, pick at the stick.
Do you think, does any part of you think it's low-key overrated?
No.
I know it was a farewell for Candlestick, which meant a lot to the
because
it didn't mean as much to Navarro Bowman. He had played there for how many years? You know,
if we win that Super Bowl, then you could probably go to the breakup on 4th down in the NFC Championship. If we go to win that Super Bowl, I do believe it would be higher in team history. But when you look at because you got to understand what made this pick at the stick special was that it was Navarro Bowman. They couldn't recover the onside kick. They got the Falcons the ball back to be put in the position to win the game. So if you look at it, it's redemption story in its purest form. Couldn't recover, and it's are the Niners going to lose the last game at Candlestick? And what you got to, and maybe this is a little different, not being from the Bay Area. So whether the Niners have played in Santa Clara or San Francisco, or
it's like I watched 2 games there.
Yeah. So, whether they even play in Washington probably wouldn't matter to you. You don't give a damn, So somebody who grew up in the Bay Area and went to Candlestick and it was this magical place and, all that. It's when you look at what was on the line and just the redemption story and Ted Robinson's call brings more emotion because you said, Navarro Bowman is redemption, and we're going to the playoffs and to me it was very typical Candlestick because it was you think it was the Niners snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. And that's not the first time. The catch 1, catch 2, Vernon Post catch 3. It was just very fitting, and that's the way that Candlestick, if it's not going to go out with the NFC Championship game and all that, and that for a regular season, that's the way that Candlestick should have gone out. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm curious. Before we get into the normal spiel, I'm actually curious to tell people this, and I want to know y'all opinion. What I get, some people love the tangents we go on, some people hate them. So what I'm thinking about is some people have reached out to Adam and I about, the professionalism of the show.
We appreciate that.
Please give us your feedback. Please. If
good, bad.
Because I'm the type of person that if it ain't broke, I ain't gonna fix it. So if nobody says, "Hey, bro, this part sucks," I'm just gonna continually assume that people love it. So if there are things that, please give us your negative, constructive feedback.
The worst thing we can do is reanalyze. I'm the type of person, even if
exactly.
Maybe you tell me something where I just twist it or I change it.
Exactly. And my whole thing about this is if we were doing this as a hobby, I wouldn't really care. But we want to do this, mainstream. And so giving people a show that they want is important to us because listenership is what's obviously going to drive the show. So by all means, please give us your feedback. So what I've been thinking about is let me know. I've been thinking about just doing a Niner random tangent show where we just pick a topic. Maybe a fan gives us a topic or something like that. Joe versus Steve or, whatever. And we just go on tangents the whole show. I think that the way we're going to do Niner Faithful Radio probably starting the season is obviously that this episode will be the breakdown of the game. But I think what we're going to start doing going forward is instead of doing so many, everything wrapped up in the show, we're going to kind of spread everything out. And so we'll have the show of breaking down the game and everything like that. But then this date in Niner history will be its own show. We're going to go ahead and I'll say it and then I'll go ahead and announce it now. We're going to start doing a fan interaction show. Now we'll have to, there's some details we need to work on because I'm not really trying to pay $40 for it right now until we can make sure that we get the listenership and callers that dictate spending that money. But we're going to be doing these things. So instead of trying to do everything in one show, we're going to spread it out. And that way, if people want to hear the breakdown, but they don't want to hear about me and Adam going on a tangent about Jerry Rice, cool. Well, then you don't watch the Niner Tangent show. But okay. Before we get out of here today, it's almost that time, y'all. Shop Niner Faithful Radio, officially licensed merchandise from 49ershop.com, NFLshop.com, Fanatics.com, Target, eBay, Amazon, and more. Visit NinerFaithfulRadio.com/shop or like us on Facebook at Niner Faithful Radio Shop. Use the promo code NFR Shop, so Niner Faithful Radio Shop, but abbreviated and then shop, to save 20% on all merchandise, the hats, T-shirts. I'm going to be placing the order for the hat like today. So I will be having Niner Faithful, the hats that will be sold on the store, I'll be wearing probably next episode, if not the episode after.
Quick question while we're on subject. Anything about tanks?
Yeah, we have tank tops officially available. I'm gonna
test to see that.
Yeah. We have shops. We have tank tops officially now. We have them. They're $20, so we have them in black and white. Matter of fact, if I can get everything worked out and they stop trying to screw me on this,
did we lose him? Or he's coming back for the count? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so better internet.
It's up on 3 count. Damn.
Better internet is also a priority, but
Boxer.
Yeah, we have tank tops available now. We have drawstring backpacks. Go to Niner Faithful Radio Shop on Facebook even, and we have all the products there. You can click on it and it'll take you directly to the product.
Or if you want to buy yourself a new shirt, you can always cut out the sleeves and get something else.
I mean, hey, but we do have tank tops. Basically, I'll be wearing one either next show or the show after. I'll be having a tank top and
it sounds nice.
Yeah. So join our Patreon rewards program for as little as $1 a month. You can get special perks like 10% off. You cannot combine them, so you can't get 30% off. It'd be 20 or 10. But for monthly giveaways and invite to join Adam and I on a segment of Niner Faithful Radio and much more, visit patreon.com/Niner Faithful Radio or visit the YouTube channel or Facebook or NinerFaithfulRadio.com. They're on it. Go to SeatGiant.com, use the promo code Niner Faithful Radio, all one word, and save on all theater, concert, and sporting events, as well as help out the show. Y'all know about the 4,200 watch minute, 1,200 subscriber. We'll be giving away a ticket to the game, invite to Empire Row, the official tailgate of Niner Faithful Radio, and a ticket to the Niner Museum. As soon as we hit 4,200 watch minutes and 1,200 subscribers, we got that. So, I mean, if it's not done this season, we will carry it on to next season. So if we don't reach it this year, we'll go ahead and reach it next year, and it'll be a game next year. If we make it this year, I'll make a deal with everybody right now. If we make it a deal, if we reach it before, I'll make the ticket the Steeler game. So you'll be able to come see T.O. be put in the Niner Hall of Fame.
I said I'll pitch in for that as well.
Yeah. So we'll take care of it. So
figure out
if we get to everything by before week 3, and enough time to pick the winner and all that, we'll go ahead and make it the Steeler, the home opener. Get your questions to Adam and I, email at NinerFaithfulRadio.com or hit us up on social media. Adam's at 49ers Insiders. I'm at Niner Faithful Radio or Niner Faithful R on Twitter. Participate in our weekly poll on Twitter and Facebook to win prizes. Like us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Adam's at 49ers Insiders on Twitter. I'm at Niner Faithful Radio on Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter is Niner Faithful R. Visit NinerFaithfulRadio.com to read our blogs from Nothing But Niners and Sports Elite. We're going to be getting a blog breaking down every game of the season. We're putting that together right now. It'll be out. Matter of fact, they were messaging me about it. So that'll be out relatively soon. It's not just me either. It's a bunch of us at the team of Nothing But Niners. So that's going to be a pretty dope blog coming out soon. If you're listening to us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spreaker, Blueberry, or TuneIn, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. It really helps the show out. If you're watching us on YouTube, as y'all probably are, please subscribe and hit that bell so you don't make sure not to miss a video. And also please give us a thumbs up and comment on what you think about the video. So please, like I said, positive or negative feedback, please give it to us. We really appreciate it. It helps the show grow. And like I said, me and Adam have been doing this for a little less than a year now together, and I've been doing it 2 years. So we're new at this. We're trying to learn on the fly, on the job training. Also, we will have a special giveaway next week. I'm going to go in storage, and I'm going to see if I'm going to try to pull out something really, really cool to give away on next week's show, like live on the show. We're going to go through the comments and all that. Next week, June 19th will be the 2-year anniversary of my first episode of Niner Faithful Radio that really went out and people actually listened to. So next week will be our two-year anniversary show. So I'll put it to you this way. We got a Bob Sinclair Hall of Fame card we're going to be giving away next week. We got Bob Sinclair and we got Roger Craig. So we're going to let the winner choose between a Bob Sinclair Hall of Fame card or a Roger Craig 500-something milestone. So those are some pretty cool cards that might be worth a pretty penny. So, and if you come out to Empire Row, we might be getting Roger Craig out this year. So maybe you'll get an autograph. But anyway, anything else you want to add, Adam? This show's off the rails.
I want to give a shout out to Judd York. I want to give an extra shout out to the 49ers faithful for keeping things classy, as we like to say, especially in resemblance to Judd York. But no, I just want to say, like, honestly speaking, for all the people who are reaching like a mug and saying he's cheap and all that BS, I just wanted to say on record that he wouldn't have fired Chip Kelly and Jimmy Tomsula right after a year.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully everything happens for a reason. Like I said, right now, maybe if Harbaugh would have been still in power, who knows? Maybe he would have got fired last year. You never know how shit could have went. You know what I mean? Once again, too, the league has evolved so much since he left. Like, are we honestly going to sit here and act like, too, that he would have been able to get, like, a really shit with our luck. Greg Roman still could have been in charge for all we know as far as offense goes. But you just never know, dude. And maybe he wouldn't have got that OC, that he probably needed. Like if he would have had Kyle Shanahan when he was the head coach.
Shanahan wouldn't have done the lateral move. He would have left Atlanta to become the offensive coordinator with the Niners. Like, he wouldn't have made that lateral move. Yeah. Look, there were reasons to fire Harbaugh. That's not the issue I had. It was hiring Tom Sula that was the issue. Because I'll tell you, in any workplace, you cannot go to your men and say, what your boss, the owner, and say, what are you doing in here? This meeting is for men only, and expect to keep your job. You just can't do that.
Who knows? Maybe he was hungover or some wild shit. But to be honest, though, with Jim Tomsula, I didn't have a problem with it because, once again, we've talked about this before. It was the kid, Pete Christ was offensive coordinator, so like it was a lot of continuity, and Jim Tomsula was going to be like the players' coach kind of guy.
Yeah.
Compared to Harbaugh, things were so tense, and things ended up going sour. Let's not act like Jim Harbaugh was an X and O master. Once again,
he wasn't. And I was just about to say, Jim Harbaugh didn't have anything that was revolutionary. It was cap. His big claim to fame.
But it took the pistol to make things really dynamic for the 49ers. Yeah. You take out the pistol, God knows what the hell happens.
Exactly. It was basically essentially cap. What made the Niners any different than a ground and pound and play defense type of team was when Cap came in the picture.
Yeah.
And the problem was, and this is what never anybody talks about, is they learned how to shut down the read option. And when I say shut it down, they neutralized it. It wasn't what people thought it was going to be.
It wasn't the wild card that just came out of freaking left field throwing a haymaker towards your freaking jaw.
Exactly. So then I don't think Harbaugh has an adjustment. And so there were issues with Harbaugh. When I say Tom Sula was the problem, I don't mean that I had a problem with hiring Tom Sula. I was like you, continuity. I mean, I personally thought we should have gone with Vic Fangio. But fine, whatever, continuity, whatever.
They took a gamble on he was like the employee that like low key deserved a chance. Per se.
Exactly.
We already had
was real loyal to to the owner, and exactly. So
Um,
when I say problem, I don't mean a problem. That's when things took a turn for the worst.
let's not forget either. If Harbaugh would have fired Greg Roman, he would have hired a different offensive coordinator.
Yeah, true,
Nobody
true,
knows.
true.
That story could have played
For
out too.
all we know, that's maybe that was the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. Is they said fire Greg Roman, and he said, "Go fuck yourself."
Yep.
I think that very well could have been.
What happened?
Look, I have somebody that has worked for some NFL Network and is kind of tied in, and the issue is getting the Niners to release some things and to talk about some things that maybe some people don't want coming to light about maybe some of the goings-ons behind the doors that were happening, during that period of Niners. Let's not forget, Alden getting arrested and a lot of the craziness that was going on and things that were going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I've been assured that as soon as things are released and cooled down and everything, we're going to get the Jim Harbaugh story.
So I think it's going to have to take probably at least a
10 years.
championship type of game to kind of occur, or maybe even a Super Bowl win, dare I say. And then
it's going to be a while. But when it comes out, and I'll put it to you this way. I've talked to some people who know some people type of things, and there'll be some things that make some Niner fans, not all, but some Niner fans say, yeah, okay, I probably would have, yeah, no. And there'll be some things that maybe I think sometimes what happens and Harbaugh, I'm not going to say overrated and things of that nature, but I think that because we have been losing for so long, the fact that he came in and made us relevant again, especially for people I think of people of our generation. When I say our generation, that generation that maybe didn't grow up in the heyday, but maybe towards the tail end of it, or at least remember the time when not championship necessarily, but we were still the Niners.
Yeah.
And then we were young when that happened, and then we transitioned to the decade of darkness. And so a lot of my remembering Niner football was during the decade of darkness. And all of a sudden, out of the darkness comes this light named Jim Harbaugh, and we're in the NFC Championship game, and who's got it better than us, and I think we all got wrapped up into that because
you're not a true 49er faithful if you love him or hate him or whatever, but of course we were appreciative, and obviously he finally gave us some winning. But you know what I think it's a perfect life analogy? I think the perfect life analogy is, let's just say somebody kind of wanders along and never had a true good relationship, right? And Jim Harbaugh is that chick. And she comes along, he has some really great times, and then slowly but surely
it falls apart.
4 years later, it kind of goes downhill. So would it be like, so let's just say you split up, mutually part ways.
Yeah.
And then some time passes along, you haven't found anybody else. So then you kind of go back to that desperate reaching point of you just kind of literally start talking yourself crazy in terms of that person is the wife for you. When really it's just the best you haven't had or the best you had in a long time.
And then Shanahan's that girl that comes out of left field that you thought, okay, maybe I'll just
some time to be groomed, baby.
Yep. She just, exactly. Perfect. And you know what, Adam? That was a great, perfect life analogy. And I think we'll end at that point. Till next week, y'all. I shall say faith, love, and happiness. Go Niners.
Always fun. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Bye-bye.